Oh, okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. 7, 11, 10, 12. If everybody would take a seat, please. I don't know where everybody is tonight. I don't think they remember that it was Monday. It is Monday, I think. If everybody would take a seat so we can go ahead and get started, then we can have coffee and cookies after. Something to look forward to. All right. My name is Linda Locke. I am the president of the Berryessa Citizens Advisory Council. One of the things we've been known for is to have forums for the various candidates running for office, like the school board, East Side, the Berryessa School Board, the Sheriff's Department, the City Council, the mayor. So we've had these forums, and we have them well attended. Not like tonight. I don't know what's going on. I have a treasurer's report because Susan is not available tonight. Somewhere there's a treasurer's report. Oh, here it is. And we didn't have any new income. The beginning balance at the beginning of March, as of March 1st, was 3,000. Okay, I'm going to go into my teacher mode in a minute. You must be quiet when the teacher is talking. $3,503.85. We had expenses for the Community Safe Initiative, which was the ethnic celebration, and we had payment for Citizen of the Year plaque, the robocall service that we use for every Sunday, and payment for Zoom and the web hosting fees. So we now have a balance as of the 31st of March, $3,011.43. We still have the City of San Jose grant. As of March 1st, it was $7,038, and it's still $7,038. So we haven't been able to finish our project at the moment, so everything's at a standstill, but we're still working on it. Okay. Did you send out the minutes, Ty, for the last meeting?
I did not. I will do that tomorrow.
Okay. It was a celebration, very short. It'll be, yeah. It was a wonderful celebration. I'm sorry any of you that weren't able to be here. It was just a marvelous celebration, and we celebrated CETA as being the Citizen of the Year on top of that too. So it was great. All right, tonight we have our law enforcement. All three enforcement officers are here tonight, and we have a brand new captain. So I wanted you to be sure to meet him, and he will introduce himself. And it is Captain Brandon Sanchez, wherever he is.
Thank you, everybody.
You have to talk in the mic.
Thank you, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here. It's my first meeting out over here in quite a while. I've been out here before when I was a patrol lieutenant 3 years ago, but I just got promoted a week from Sunday, so I'm still trying to get used to everything, but everything is going well. Big shoes to fill with Captain Trayer's absence, so I'm trying to do my best. It's good to be back out in Foothill. I just spent a lot of my patrol time, both as an officer and as a sergeant out here. I have a lot of family history out here in Foothill, so it's good to kind of come home to this area. So as far as what's happening in Foothill Division, we're doing really well. We have continuing our traffic enforcement out in some of the areas that are hotspots for a lot of traffic, a lot of speeders, and where kids are going to school and crossing the street. So we're still staying diligent in that. We do have a trend that's happening in the city with some of the smash and grabs that are happening at smoke shops. It's targeting more of southern San Jose, a little bit of western. It hasn't really come to Foothill. And what they're doing is young adults are stealing some Hyundais and Kias, and they're using those to kind of smash into the front of the stores, and they're taking random stuff from inside the smoke shops. Nothing specific, just vape pens and some other paraphernalia that go with with the smoke shop. So the detectives, I talked to them this afternoon. They have a couple great leads, and they're going to follow through on that. We've had in the last week, we've had our special operations and a lot of patrol doing high visibility out in a lot of these areas at all the smoke shops in every division. So we're doing well with that, trying to get as many officers out there so that can be seen and hopefully deter some of the kids that are coming out there. Other than that, everything's looking pretty good. We haven't really had a lot of the robbery smash and grabs that we once had during last summer. I've been working with our robbery unit, and we have a plan going forward for the summer for some more high visibility. And working with both East Ridge and all the malls over in the city, where we have a pretty good direct communication with all of them. So anytime that something happens at one mall, we share it with everybody else so we can identify any trends or cars or suspect information, pass it along. That's it. Anybody have any questions for me? Yes, sir.
When you say smoke shops, you mean marijuana dispensaries?
No, more of the where you would go buy a bong or a pipe or some of the vape shops, not the marijuana dispensaries. I don't know. It's a good question. Enough. But yes, great question. But yeah, not the dispensaries. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention too is along with the smoke shop robberies, we're having the Kias and Hyundais being stolen. There is a TikTok challenge out there that a lot of the kids are kind of subscribing to, and it really details out how to steal Hyundais and Kias. So if you have those, I would recommend getting some kind of anti-theft devices, some steering wheel column devices, or some other locking mechanisms to help try to quell some of that, some of the stealing of those cars. Aside from that, anybody have any other questions? Yes, sir. Burglaries, residential burglaries? Yeah, so that's a great question. So the same detectives I talked to this afternoon about the smoke shop robberies, also we're talking about the residential burglaries. We have some of our burglary suppression cars that are going out, so maintaining high visibility. We're trying to work a lot with the evidence that's collected, both the DNA and we're trying to put up as many cameras as we can, both with residential cameras and registering our residential cameras. Along with our LPR cars, or LPR cameras rather, to be able to try to identify some of these suspects. I don't know if you've heard, but along that line with the registration of the cameras, San Jose PD is launching that SJ Cam, where residents can register their cameras so that we know where cameras exist. So if a burglary happens or another crime happens, instead of going out and knocking on every door and asking citizens, hey, do you have cameras and do you have any evidence that would help us? We can look at a map already that's with the registration and see how many cameras are in that neighborhood. We can contact the resident and see if they have any evidence that would help us. So really big push on that. Actually, Councilmember Cohen has helped with his distribution email on how to register those cameras. So highly encourage that, because that will help us and hopefully deter and minimize some of the residential burglaries. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Sure, that's a great question. Yes, I do. Great question. So I think that's everybody's first knee-jerk reaction is how much access do we have? And I'll tell you, we don't have any access to it. It's not, we're not remoting into your camera system. It's simply just knowing that you have a camera and knowing that we can contact you and ask you for video surveillance footage if you have it. But we're not trying to access your cameras, because we want to respect your privacy too. And to be able to access cameras is really, we don't have the bandwidth to do that either. It's just more so of just knowing that they exist out there so we can reach out to you and ask. But yeah, great question. Yeah, I would say on that note, if that's a concern of yours, there's VPNs that you can purchase that will help try to keep your network more protected. If that's a concern of people going around your neighborhood and doing that. But as far as what we're just asking for you to register it so we have information of where to go if something happens. What do you mean? No, you don't. It's completely voluntary, and it's just we'll always contact you and ask you for consent. Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We really like having law enforcement here, so we kind of find out what's going on and you get familiar with them in case we do have any problems. You know who to talk to and feel more comfortable. All right, the Sheriff's Department is Lieutenant Jeremy Jones.
It's not my first time, but I'll take the applause, right? Good evening, everybody. Again, welcome to be here. Sad news, I'm getting transferred out. So one is in, right? And then I'm following Captain Trayer on the way out. But my replacement will be Lieutenant Moore. And once he comes here, I'll introduce him. So I'll come to the next meeting and formally introduce him. As for our crime statistics in the Bay Area for the Sheriff's Office, was actually really low this month. We only had 244 calls for service. Out of those calls for service, we took 2 reports, and unfortunately one was somebody that passed away on Sierra Road from an elderly person, and then there was also a mental illness case where we actually, everybody was fine, safe. We were able to get that person help they need it. A lot of traffic enforcement. There was a lot more pedestrian stops. I got the emails from yesterday. Easter was a busy week. I think San Jose and us were both super busy yesterday. We were on 2 standoffs, and actually had a pursuit that came through our Bay area and ended up off 280 in Alum Rock. You guys see that homeless encampment right off the side right there? So we were dealing with the barricade there for about 4 hours yesterday. So everybody's been super busy. The weather's getting a lot nicer. So if we can, just make sure you guys remain vigilant. Don't be afraid, but just remain vigilant. And what I say is if you're leaving shopping centers, don't leave things in your cars. If you're leaving your house and you have an alarm system, just turn it on. I can't tell you, on the west side, in Cupertino, Saratoga, Los Altos Hills, most burglars you take, almost 44% of the burglars are the residential houses. They have alarms, but they don't turn them on. And that's the #1 deterrent. So what we really stress is be a good neighbor. Turn on your alarm. If you have a spotlight at night, a motion sensor spotlight, help out your neighbors, and then know your neighbors too. If you're going out of town, let us know. The Sheriff's Office, if you are in our jurisdiction, and I'm sure, I don't know if San Jose has this, I'm sure they do, but if you're going out of town, you can email us, especially if you're in our jurisdiction, and say, hey, I'm gonna be out of town from this time to this time. We'll have this many cars in our driveway. Can you do a patrol check of our area? And while you're out of town, you give us your contact information, and we'll actually go and walk your residence and know that. And so, and why that's important, because if you are out of town and say you're out of the country and you're zooming in and you're looking at your camera system and say somebody does break into your house and you dial 911, where do you think that call is going to go to? It's going to be out of town. So by the time it figures out where it is and it gets to us, there's going to be a long delay, right? So if you do know that, set up for a patrol check, and then we'll have contact, and then we'll give you guys our non-emergency line. So I'm surprised I probably did this in the earlier meeting, but if I haven't, I'll give you guys our non-emergency line if you guys are ready to write it down. So get that in your phone, because if you are out of town or if you're in San Mateo or something like that and something happens, you can call this number. It's the same as calling 911, and then it'll give you direct access to something. So it's 408-299-2311. So again, 299-2311. And what we tell people to do is just put that in your phone and save it under contact, save it under 911, or save it under Sheriff's Office. So if something is happening at your residence and you're away, you can call us, so there won't be any disconnect, right? So, and then we're kind of by the freeway, so it might go up to CHP, and so by the time it gets to the right jurisdiction or whoever it is, it cuts down the time. So with that, I just really want to thank you guys. Next month, I would really give my praises. I've been a part of this community. I still live in the area and I grew up here, but I've been a part of this for a year and a half, and it's been nothing but warm welcomes. I'm excited about my new venture, but I'm also sad about leaving this part. So is there any questions for me? That's San Jose's non-emergency line. So if you are, it just depends. If you're in San Jose's jurisdiction, that's the number you want to use. And if you're in sheriff's office, unincorporate it. Then, but guess what? If you call that number and you tell them your address, they're going to figure out and they'll send it right over. So the big thing is if you're out of town on a holiday weekend and you call 911, by the time they figure it out, because what they're going to do is Google your address, then Google our number, and then try to get it, it's going to be a long delay. So either one of those numbers will work. My new assignment is going to be, I'm going to be the assistant division commander of our courts division. So I'm going back to courts, which we talked about earlier. I have 3 young kids, 8, 6, and 2 years old. So I've been on patrol working nights and weekends and holidays for the last 6 years. So now I get to put my coaching hat on and have a normal schedule. So my wife will be happy about that. And that's all I have, and I'll turn it over to Mrs. Locke again. You're welcome.
All right, our next law enforcement, California Highway Patrol, Captain Christian Oliver.
Thank you, Linda. Good evening, Captain Oliver, California Highway Patrol. Again, out of uniform, just like last month, broken clavicle, snowboarding accident, nothing police related. So I'm still healing. As I get older, that takes a longer process. But I thought I'd give you an update on what we're doing for the Berryessa community. So we've had a specific officer assigned to weekends and evenings, and I think hopefully you've seen an uptick as far as enforcement. What we're doing is concentrating on areas where people may be loitering, there may be stops in red zones, there may be drinking, drugs, all the above. So we're trying to really put our efforts towards that. Last month we had an increase of DUI arrests in the community. We did not see an uptick as far as crashes, but we're looking as we get into these warmer months to make sure that we're addressing the concerns of the community. Previous months, January, February, and actually into March, a lot of our efforts were drawn towards the weather-related events, the closing of 130, the closing of 17, and the different needs of the community in regards to emergency preparedness and natural disasters. So with that, as the weather gets warmer, we're shifting our focus for the CHP. You know, we have from the Alameda County line to the top of Summit on SR 17 to, you know, where 101 and 85 meet. So it's a large area. We're concentrating on things like motorcycle enforcement safety. We're concentrating on the community here, which also includes motorcycle and safe enforcement. But this month specifically, we are focusing on distracted driver awareness. So April is distracted driver awareness, and that means what to you? What kind of things do we get distracted while we're driving? Number one, cell phones. That wasn't an issue necessarily before 1995, but it is now. So cell phones. Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Imagine when our officers have come across that and they make an enforcement stop, you know, cell phone, it's like, I get it, but this is fluffy. I need this dog on my lap to drive. No, it's a distraction. So you're 100% correct. So anything that takes your eyes off the road, diverts your attention from the road. So a lot of times we talk about the handheld laws. And I can't tell what you're doing on the phone when you have it mounted, but that is distracted driver. So when your focus is not on the road ahead and it is on, your mind is mentally on a phone call or an app or something like that, that distracts us. And we see that that is the number 4 cause of crashes, behind DUI, speeding, not wearing seatbelts, and then distracted driver. So, and usually not wearing seatbelts is because you're either DUI and then speeding and distracted. So that's what our focus is for this month. I'm hoping that the Berryessa community, as well as the greater San Jose area, Santa Clara County, Bay Area, remains free from distractions, and that we can bring down the number of injury and deaths and property damage collisions because we're responsible drivers. But we'll be out there to help you know the importance of that. Do you have any questions as far as what we're doing in the community or what's going on in the greater Bay Area for the California Highway Patrol and our responsibilities? Yes.
One, with the Rangers, the football situation, very significant.
Yes.
I know that you guys typically are watchful for signage not being eliminated. I was
Absolutely. I mean, the same things that affect your cars affect our cars. I mean, we're driving 800 miles a day, each person, or 600. So those affect us greatly. If I can prevent you from hitting a pothole and pulling off to the side of the road that requires us to attend to that, or you hitting a pothole and then hitting another car, I'm going to do something that's going to help us out and help you out by having those conversations. So I meet with our Caltrans partners weekly and bi-weekly for different issues, and part of that are the lanes, county roads as well. So I while we don't have city jurisdiction, I have discussions with our county road partners as well. They're yes. Did it affect anybody's driving? Did it affect anybody's driving? If it did, if there are brake lights, if there's a swerve, if there's a slowdown, then yes, absolutely. 911 is not for, hey, I'm witnessing a shooting. It's for, hey, this is affecting our roads. Our 911 call centers take 1 million calls per month, just the one in the Bay Area. Which probably also explains so for every crash there's probably 20 people distracted driver, calling in those crashes, right? So the 1 million calls are probably for significantly less, but yes, anything that is going to cause a crash, we want to know about so we can get out there and take care of it. Have you ever seen CHP or sheriff's deputies or San Jose PD do the don't they look drunk? They look drunk, right? They're not drunk. They're not drunk. We call them round robins, traffic breaks. What we're doing is we're running a traffic break to either then eventually stop all traffic and pick up those plastic bags and get them out of the roadway. Or somebody that's way far ahead, if you have a good beat partner, is taking care of that while you run a traffic break for safety. We want to keep the roads clear. We want to make sure that you are traveling to and from your work, your home, or whatever you're about doing safely and in the best way possible. No, road rage is an issue. We just had a tragic incident that occurred the other night, and it's associated to road rage, where a 5-year-old was shot and killed on 880 south of Dixon Landing. It was our officers that tried to save the girl's life, and she succumbed to her injuries, and that it is absolutely a thing. Absolutely a thing. Our freeway shootings and shootings in the Bay Area are up, and that's something that we're vigilant and we're always looking to combat. In the back? Yeah. It's an ongoing investigation, but initial reports say it was it was a road rage, some interaction led to that. And unfortunately, that was a family of 6 driving along, and 5-year-old is now deceased. Any other questions? Yes? Yes. Okay. Well, skiers scare me. So, no, I cannot ski anymore because my knee dislocates when I ski. So that's why I choose snowboarding. I'm really not that young at heart. I just like the snow. So, I think I told my wife I'm going to hang it up, but I think I'll be good. I think I'll be all right. You are the citizen of the year, right? The ceremony last month was fantastic. And didn't you get a crown? No? Okay. Any other questions for me before I give up the microphone? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, now for our elected officials, Assembly Member Alex Lee. Tim Orozco, are you going to give it? He already gave his prizes on your chair. Got a bag.
So you can all hear me. So I'm Tim. I'm representing Assemblymember Alex Lee. And just a few things. I don't want to keep it very long, although there is a lot. I do want to mention that the governor signed a big oil price gouging law. The Assembly member supported it. That was on March 28th. And so what the law is going to do is going to create a division within the California Energy Commission, and that division will investigate the pricing activities of our refiners like Chevron, Phillips 66, Valero, Marathon. And so the whole point about this is, as we all know, we were paying like $6.50 a gallon last summer, right? The prices went sky high. Right now it's like $4.80 a gallon on average. We pay typically about $1 more than the national average. And so this is a way for the state. We didn't pass a windfall profits tax. But we did put this into effect a couple of weeks ago. They'll have the division. They will investigate the refinery activities, the refiners' activities. And if they see any kind of market manipulation, then that'll be cause for concern, and they'll be able to impose caps, profit caps, and penalties on the refiners. So that is new law. It takes effect in June. It was they went to extraordinary session to do this, and when you pass these big laws, they go into effect 90 days after the law was signed, instead of January 1st. So that was a big deal. Assemblymember Alex Lee had the idea a year ago. He had legislation to pass a windfall profits tax, and then the legislators and the governor decided to go this route and to have our regulators do the work. So there's more oversight. It's good for transparency, accountability, and so it will, so now we're going to be able to open the books and see how they're doing business. And if they are manipulating the market, we will know, and there will be action that will, take effect. So other fun things, we have an Unsung Heroes event this Friday. Come join us at the Fremont Downtown Center. We have a few people here in Berryessa that will be honored and recognized. The Assembly member will recognize like 25 folks. Sita, Eric, our Piedmont Hills High School Parent Booster Club will be recognized. So come join. It's not that far. I used to drive to Fremont, right, to go to work, so it's not too far. And it's a beautiful downtown center, brand new. And so it'll be a fun time. So come say hi to the Assembly member. Come congratulate the honorees. And we had a Woman of the Year. The legislators and the Capitol celebrated Women History Month. Our Woman of the Year, the Assembly member's Woman of the Year, was from Sunol. So he represents Sunol, and she was the chair of their Citizens Advisory Council, and she did a lot of work helping all the flood victims last year. So her name is Connie DeGrange. I'm not going to go into all the bills. I'll do that next month. We'll have a bigger group, a bigger crowd. So I'll go into bills next, but I do want to say the assembly member and I were given a tour of Green Waste. The council member probably has been there off of Gish Road. It's in the assembly district. They're doing some great work there, making sure that we reuse, we recycle, we recover our waste materials and that they don't go to the landfill. So good job, Green Waste. Some of your yard clippings are being picked up by Green Waste. And of course, your recyclables. We are going to be given a tour of San Quentin and on Thursday. As you know, the governor wants to recreate San Quentin and instead of being a state prison, it would be a rehabilitation center. Now, you know, there's 34 state prisons, and we have over 90,000 prisoners. We used to have 160,000, and the court said, you need to let some of these people, not, you know, these people, pardon me? Release some of the non-violent offenders. So now we're down to 90. It was 120 and, 5 years ago. And eventually we may close a couple of prisons. One just closed last year, Dual Vocational in Tracy. But we're going to be, the assembly member will be given a tour, and I get to staff him, which is great, on Thursday. It's going to be, and so I think that's part of the whole effort of trying to make this a new model. We're spending $15 billion on our prison system a year. $50 billion, you're spending over $100,000 per inmate. So you have 34 prisons. So let's try to do something. What is the definition of stupidity? Well, let's try to do something different. And we know that in Europe, they do have some of these rehabilitation centers that work. So maybe they will work for some prisoners, not all, but maybe some. So we're going to go check it out on Thursday. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is, we don't have our superintendent here today, but they did a groundbreaking at Piedmont Middle School. The assembly member was able to secure $10 million in last year's budget. I believe they got the grant in March, but the groundbreaking was done for that new gym, Piedmont Middle School's new gym, back in February. And that was a $10 million grant that the assembly member was able to secure for our schools. So I'll talk about bills next month. All right, thank you so much.
And thanks, Tim, for mentioning Sita and Eric. I had that down as my announcements, but we're very proud of them. So, all right, so let's see. Oh, David Cohen, Councilman, you are up.
Good evening. It must be spring break. We have a lot of people not here this week, but it's great that the schools and students are getting a week off this week. Few updates. First, I'll say, I haven't spoken to you since Tim left our office. I don't think Tim came and tried the city, but realized that grass is greener in the state, and so he went back to his work in the state legislature. But his loss is our gain, because Angela, who's in the back, is our new staff member who we found, and she's been doing great work for our district. So she's here to say hello tonight, and we'll bring her when we have more people here in the coming months. We're right now working on the city budget. The mayor, I was involved with the mayor in helping craft his message that got adopted last month. There's a lot of details in that budget message that are now being crunched into a budget by the city manager's office. In the meantime, we're holding budget hearings around the city in each district. We're trying to schedule one here a month from now at the BCAC meeting, I think, is when we'll try to hold the District 4 budget hearing. So come in May, give your input on the budget, let us know what you'd like to see us spend our resources on in the city. There's a few priorities that we've put out in terms of solving homelessness, building housing, making sure that we have a public safety focus, and then there's other things that we want to do locally. In addition to the citywide budget proposal, we also, as council members, have the opportunity to put in memos to ask for budgets for our specific area. So if you all have any ideas of things you'd like some additional spending on, it would be great. We're seeing some of those things come to fruition with some of our parks and road improvements that are coming this year were because of budget asks that I put in the last 2 years. They usually take a year or two to actually come full circle. But let me know if you have any ideas. One thing that we're focused on this year is trying to backfill the lost funding that the Education Foundation has lost, that is funding our Elevate Math summer program for Berryessa school students. So we're going to try to get money in the city budget to continue that program for our local students. Captain Sanchez mentioned the crime cameras. Very proud of the fact that our district is jumping on board very rapidly. We put out in our newsletter a few weeks ago a call for people to register their cameras with the City of San Jose Police Department, and they saw a huge spike within days of people in District 4 registering. So that means people are reading our newsletter, but it also means people care about the safety of their community. So you can check out our website for more information on how to register your camera. And if you don't yet receive our newsletter, please sign up for it. Our big event for Earth Day this year will be a tree planting at Cataldi Park on April 29th. It's a Saturday, the last Saturday of April. We're going to be planting 30 trees that day, which is a big undertaking. We need about 100 volunteers to come out. It takes about 3 volunteers per tree. We'll be there for many hours that morning. We're going to be planting them in the back of the park, closer to where the highway is. There's a lot of open space back there, and we'd like to add some trees around the trails there. So join us on the 29th if you'd like to help us plant trees and get out in the nice weather. Now that the rainy season's done, it's a perfect time, and the ground is still soft, so planting trees is easier. This month is District 4 month. Since it's the 4th month of the year, it's our responsibility to hold the invocations at our council meetings, and so we'll be highlighting, as we always do, organizations in District 4. We had folks from the Alviso Yacht Club speak at the council meeting last week. Tomorrow we have Lead Filipino, which has a lot of members in this district giving the invocation. Next week we have a group of students from Piedmont Hills High School in their Rotaract Club who will be talking to us about their environmental work. And then the last week of the month, we will be showcasing the band at Piedmont Middle School. They'll be doing a performance for us at our council meeting. And the last thing I want to mention is the Arts Festival. Used to be known as the Art and Wine Festival. There will still be art and wine, but it's now called the Berryessa Art Festival. And it will be held on the same Saturday in May as usual, the day before Mother's Day. This year, that's Saturday, May 13th. It's going to be a great event. Our office has taken on the coordination role this year while we try to rebuild the independent committee that runs the event. Last year, there were about 15 to 20 vendor booths. This year, we already have 70 vendor booths signed up. It's going to be a really big event. You can do your Mother's Day shopping and enjoy the warm weather. Hopefully, it won't be raining. I don't think it will be in May. And we'll all be out here in the field behind the community center. Really big event, lots of performances by our local students, and a lot of great shopping and food. So come out on the 13th and join us. And if you'd like to volunteer for the festival, let us know. Question, yeah. 29th. Yes. Starts at 9? 8:30. 8:30 to probably till noon. It'll probably go a few hours. Yeah, oh yeah. I guess you're asking about park development, not home development there, right? Park development. So there's no plan necessarily for big infrastructure changes, but we had talked about doing a tree planting there. We're doing tree plantings in many places around the district, and this month we did a big one in Alviso, and we're doing the one in Cataldi Park. But we definitely are going to get out there and do a tree planting this year sometime. I don't know what you heard about March. There wasn't a specific construction plan. So, okay. Well, anyway, so we'll be out at the park, and yeah. So the park is there and permanently preserved, and we'll continue to welcome people. I forgot to mention one thing since you mentioned parks. Last month, I took a tour of Allen Rock Park with the Parks Department. Because of the big storms, that park has been closed, and we saw all the huge boulders and rocks on a lot of the trails, mudslides that have closed some of the trails. They're working to try to get those trails open, but the other big issue is that the part of the road washed away into the creek on the way into the park. So there's going to be some work that has to be done to allow vehicles back into the park, and that might take a while. But this Friday, we are doing a soft opening to allow hikers and bikers back into the park. So for people in this area who love to bike up into Allen Rock Park or go for hikes there, the park will be open and accessible again this weekend, but it'll be a while before we can get cars back into the parking lots. They're working on figuring out an alternative plan, since we probably can't have two-way traffic on the road anymore. So we'll figure that out in the months ahead. I think our next report will be from our water director, so we'll let him talk to you, since it's Valley Water that sets the rates for water. Yeah. No, the idea is to soft open it and leave it open after that, so it'll remain open. But I mean, we have a meeting with them on Wednesday to learn the specifics of the plan. We just learned this timing today, so by next month we'll have a better update. The bigger question is what the road situation is going to be, and their current proposal is to have a one-way road that comes in on Penitentia Creek, and then reopen the road that's been closed going out to Alum Rock and have it be a loop in and out, so that, because we can't have two-way traffic on the lower part of Penitentia Creek Road anymore. I believe so. The lower parking lot before the gate is accessible and open. It's only that all the other parking lots are past the part in which the road washed out. So all the internal parking lots won't be accessible at this point. But the lower one will be open, yeah. Okay.
All right, the Santa Clara County Water District. Richard Santos and his bag of goodies.
Good evening. I'm Richard Santos, your director of the Santa Clara Valley Water District. First of all, on our police officers, my camera up on Sierra Road has been used around 4 times to be helpful in major crimes. So I hope you all will take advantage of that. It's been helpful. And by the way, since I got all 3 of us here, there is an issue. When I live in San Jose and I do call the county dispatcher, automatically she says, "You live in San Jose," and I go, "Ma'am, listen to me. 95% is county. Could you please send a deputy up?" By the time you stall and all this non-communication, it's really difficult, and the delays are really bad. I really appreciate y'all coming up there a lot more, because we need visibility, because when the weather's good or there's snow up there or whatever, up there in Vista Ridge, 5,000 to 10,000 cars on the weekends. Yesterday, in fact, my landscaping was hit twice again, probably average about 2 a month. It's a really difficult time, but I hope anyway you'll take advantage of these cameras, because this can help the officers, and my camera has been helpful several times. Appreciate that. We had a leadership forum with David Cohen's office, a lot of the community groups, BCAC, and different Alviso community. They all came, and it was really good to hear about everybody's input and whatever have you, and the accomplishments. Those are good things, and certain events we'll be having. Going to water. Linda, our president, always asked about, and we have no more, we ran out, but we have a nozzle, shower head, and of course these little buckets, and they're really popular in our water conservation. So Linda, that is yours. Thank you. And I have other items here that you're more than welcome, a moisture detector and some other nozzles and whatever have you. Help yourselves. Tomorrow we'll be looking at, the governor said we're not in a drought. Now, that's nice to say, but it's not that I'm not denying it. But if you lived in California as long as I have, in my generation, I've faced droughts about 4 times, and they're real serious. So this last 3 years, 4 weeks of rain don't make up for it. But tomorrow we'll be voting whether we reduce the 15% mandatory and voluntary. And I listen to people, do you all believe the drought's over? Okay. So that helps me make my decision because I feel the same way. But we don't do a lot of enforcement. We just do a lot of education. So we're going to continue that. And then they may want to reduce to 2 days a week for the lawns, which I don't agree. I think that should continue because we're not going to enforce it like they're going to go fine you or whatever have you. So we have 22 rebate programs, and please take advantage of them. And the residents have done a great job. It's just a lot of water use. And if we don't monitor it, we're going to go back the way it was. So I've said this before. If you read there's a Stanford Scientific Papers and the NASA papers that's come out, and they predicted in the past there's been a 10 and 20-year droughts, and they're for the future. So I got mine. I want to make sure your grandkids have water. And if you don't use the water conservation as a way of life, you don't save water, we're going to be back the way it was again. And there's a lot of folks, and Santa Clara County doesn't reduce the population. California has, but Santa Clara County stays about the same. And the water use is very good for residential areas. But again, take advantage of the water conservation programs. Water rates will be looked at in May. And when Tim talked about the price committee or whatever have you, I'd like to see them, how they're going to work, because gas isn't the only issue. It's everything we do is up by $2-3. So I don't know where it stops. And the water rates are predicted for about $8 a month additional. And then when the retailers, there's 13 of them, they raise it $2-3 anyway. And then they blame the water district. So we're the wholesaler. And so I get the same bill you get. And I make sure I can serve. I still have my bucket of a 5-gallon bucket. I've had it there for 45 years. And I have a joy by when I go out and put it on my fruit trees. I have 35 fruit trees. And they don't use domestic water. It's all runoff water and water I capture to use those, to take care of those trees. And then I bring fruit to Ty Graves and everyone else. So that's about it. The rain, right now, it's going to be a beautiful week. And as you know, this last weekend has been beautiful, and it's all coming back. We live in a great area. And by the way, this is the truth. You have the best water in the world and the cheapest prices in California. That's the fact. But government and regulations and regulatory and you name it is raising the prices all the time, and it don't go down. So I hope, Tim, that commission will be taking a look at their own government who continually cause the permit system to be out of control. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. You know, we're better than the mail department. We do 7/24. You call us anytime, 265-2600. You'll get a free inspection at your house. If you don't, I'll give you my number. You call me directly. I'll be glad to do it. And that's a service that you pay for, and you get it. And they'll come out, and we have those clapper valves and different things. And they can detect the leaks. They put a dye in there, whatever have you. And then, of course, but the amount you pay is to the water retailer. But they'll come out. Yeah, anytime. Thank you.
So after the meeting, you can come up and check out the boxes. See what you need. All right. Ty, do you want to talk a little bit, okay, about the pond restoration?
Just want to give everyone a quick update. There is a lake behind us when it's got water in it, and a small peninsula there, and we took on the project to put a park bench out there to make it a vista point. And it's been a long time in the process. The Parks and Recreation Service has a particular interest to have a particular brand of park bench installed, and they had an 18-week lead time. We are now the proud owners of a park bench, and it's in my garage. The Parks and Recreation Department has a different perspective now, and they're looking hard at being able to supply us with the labor and materials to pour a concrete footer for that bench at cost to us. Once they get a quote to us, I'll let everyone know, but it should be substantially less than having it subcontracted. So I am hopeful within the next 2 months, we'll be able to install that park bench and have that be a vista point. And so that's what I wanted to share with you. Any questions? Beautiful park bench is on it, I think, once it's assembled. Thank you.
Yeah, it's never been an easy process. There is, I guess, you have to talk to so many different peoples and they have to wait to get back to you. And so, but it's, Tide tries to stay on top of that. Okay, that's all I have. I have announcements that our next general membership meeting is May 8th, the next month. The fire department will be here and they'll make about a 20-minute presentation. And the mayor will be here and he wants to talk about his budget. So we'll try to get that out as much as we can and get as many people as we can to be here. Yes, sir. Well, I don't know what it is.
I believe it's $5 billion.
Oh, $5 billion.
The budget is not trivial.
Yeah, it's a whole lot. Okay, so we all have it. Dick. Good. I did sign the letter too, you know. All right. So, yeah, that'll be good. So the mayor, so we'll find out a little bit more. In fact, I guess last week sometime the mayor had a whole bunch of stuff in the Mercury News, so we can kind of look that over and be prepared with some questions to ask. Mm. Great. Thank you so much. All right. And then we do have an executive board meeting next week at the Berryessa School District office. Roxanne won't be there. Dr. Fuentes she's on spring break herself, so went home to see her family. And then let me see. And then we have an event coming up. This will be part of our anniversary celebration, 50 years, and it is going to be August 19th. We already have this reserved, and it's a Saturday. So we'll tell you a little bit more about it as we go along and get suggestions as to what we need to have here. And let's see, that's it. I was going to talk about Sita and Eric, but Tim already did that. So I have nothing further. Mike, oh, Mike. Oh. All righty. There we go. Okay. And we like to have open space come and chat with us and give us new information. So they may be able to come in June to our June meeting. So, all right. Anything else for the good of the cause? Oh, good. Well, we can adjourn and we can have, do we have cookies tonight? Cookies and coffee and put up the chairs. All right. Good night. Thanks for all of you that did come. I don't know